Alrighty, so let's get started. So again, we're going to go over what to expect, which is the definition, the importance, languages and holidays, and then Jay's going to take it over and tell you about the survey that she conducted and the results, and then she's going to tell you guys some recommendations for the classroom. So, what is diversity? Well, the textbook's definition would be the condition of having or being composed of different elements, and what this means is everybody is different. They have a different race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, socioeconomic status, age, ability, religious or political beliefs, or different ideologies, and the list just goes on and on and on. In the classroom, diversity is incredibly important because students are all different and they bring in different strengths and ways of thinking into the classroom. And that also means that they learn differently. So why is it important for young children? It can be very overwhelming for teachers to deal with the diversity in their classroom because it can be very hard to cater that teaching to them. Every child learns differently, so they need to come up with lesson plans that incorporate all those different ways of learning. But the strengths that they bring, each child thinks differently, so they're all going to come up with different answers or ways to reach that answer. And when you bring all those children together and help them learn together, all of those strengths are being brought together and you're teaching other children those different ways of thinking, and it really helps their learning. And on top of that, it helps with their social emotional well-being, knowing that where they are, they still belong even with other people who are not the same as them. It helps create a better atmosphere and really, really brings that classroom together. So I looked on the website for Yale Center for Teaching and Learning, and they really had a bunch of stuff about diversity in there, and I took kind of the 3 most important ones and put them in here for you guys. So first I wanted to go over the first one, which says college students in diverse settings exhibited less racial and ethnic prejudice than students who interacted mainly with those of similar backgrounds. And the second one says learning empathy, flexibility, and how to work with people from different backgrounds and cultures will prepare kids to navigate an increasingly multicultural future. Now, finally, was about kind of an expert in the diversity field, and it says that students in high poverty schools are, on average, 2 years behind their peers at low poverty schools. So this kind of put it all together is showing that people who are around and in diverse settings are going to become more tolerant, and it makes it a lot easier for them to get along. So that's why it's extremely important to start children off young, learning these principles and getting them exposed to what they're going to be dealing with the rest of their life. All right, so I pulled up some statistics from the Census Bureau in 2015 range, and it's about the languages spoken in the U.S. So I took the kind of 2 of the largest metro areas in the U.S., and it said how many languages they spoke at home in that area. So for New York, there's at least 192 languages that are spoken at home, and 30% of that population, ages 5 and up, speak a language other than English at home too. And for us, Los Angeles, it's very similar as well, where 185 languages are spoken at home, and 54% of that population, again, ages 5 and up, speak a language other than English at home. And that just is amazing. How many different languages in one area can be so diverse? And in a lot of classrooms, the only additional language that is posted with things is Spanish. Maybe not every school's even do that yet. And even when they do have multiple languages for labels or anything like that. It's usually just the first 2 or 3 most common languages where teachers can be labeling things in those specified languages that they know their children are learning in their homes. So finally, before I hand it off to Jay, I want to go over some holidays that can be incorporated into the classroom to kind of envelop a more cultural learning when kids are celebrating. So, first is the Lantern Festival. This is part of Chinese culture, and this one I really liked learning about. It's all about like making these elaborate lanterns. They decorate them and they put riddles on them and they hang them up in the town square and in temples, and they try to solve the riddles that they put on them. So it's a really big group activity, and it's something that can be incorporated into the classroom for children where they can learn a lot more about that culture, especially if there's a child in that classroom who does celebrate this holiday at home. They're gonna get a lot more feeling of belonging, and their peers are going to understand them a lot better. So the next one is Nowruz, which is a Middle Eastern celebration, and it is a celebration of spring, which is a really big focus in education springtime for early childhood kids, because that's when teachers say, all right, let's learn about science. Let's go outside, let's play with the grass, let's talk about the leaves that are growing and the plants that are forming. So to incorporate this into your teaching even is a really great idea. So the next one is Shavuot, which is Judaism culture, and it is a festival of the first fruits, and a lot of the people during this time restrict their diet to just dairy. So this one, there's a couple of different things that you could do with this, but the festival of the first fruits, there's a lot that you can learn about that when it comes to the different kinds of fruits and watching them grow and celebrating by bringing fruits in or bringing in dairy products or alternatives for children who might be lactose intolerant too, but really kind of coming together and learning about it in a fun manner. Finally, I went over Dia de los Muertos, which, as most of us know, is Day of the Dead, which is more common. This one is celebrated a lot more regularly than these other ones. It's Mexican culture. It is all about the souls of the dead. They can be visited and remembered. And the decorations is what gets everybody, or at least me especially, with the bright colors and the sugar skulls. There's just so many art projects that you can really incorporate with that. So if you guys wanted to, I know there's not a lot on here, but I really recommend that you guys look into these a little bit more, or maybe look at other holidays that you haven't heard of before. It is so cool learning about these things. And with that, I am going to switch it over to Jay, and she is going to talk to you guys a little bit about that survey.